There's a lot of high-quality carry handguns out there. But what about the worst handguns, though? What are the ones to stay away from? The ones that no one tells you about. There are a few commonly carried handguns that are the absolute worst to carry on a daily basis. So, in this video, we present you with some of the worst guns that must be avoided at all costs. One of these handguns is so bad that it can break your wrist. Taurus Curve. I absolutely loved the concept behind the Taurus Curve, but in practice, I found the execution to be rather poor. It's a globular design with a marketing twist or curve that redefined the term pointless gimmick. The frame is curved, the idea being that the grip area would better wrap around your body and conceal more effectively. If you were right-handed, I suppose that might work in theory. Lefties got the benefit of extra printing and gun exposure. Sticking to its minimalist design aesthetic, the company ditched sights altogether. In fairness, they painted cross lines on the back side of the slide and included an integral laser. I tried using the painted-on lines for a few rounds, and while it definitely isn't ideal, it's good enough for a 20-foot shot on a human-sized target when aiming for center of mass. But you're not going to be hitting any small targets anytime soon. The trigger is a wonky, bastardized version of a double-action trigger, and short-stroking it can temporarily disable the gun. The laser isn't bright enough to use in the daytime and gets washed out by the lights at night. And the activation system for that laser is neither fast nor intuitive. There are simply too many quirks and issues in this full production version to gloss over. Sky CPX. Chances are, if you're new to guns, a budget 9mm seems like a good place to start. And this Sky 9mm is just that. A budget handgun, that is. Budget in every way. At first glance, the Sky CPX-2 handgun looks like it could be a strong candidate for those looking for a cheaper option when it comes to handguns. However, a horrible trigger and serious reliability issues make this gun less than optimal. The CPX has the worst trigger, especially one that is supposed to be for defensive shooting. There is no audible nor tactile reset indication, and because the return spring is so weak that the trigger doesn't easily jump back to its return position. At any price point, a gun should not sacrifice its basic purpose to provide the shooter with a safe and a reliable way to fire a gun. Despite the bad trigger, there is another major problem with the Sky CPX. It wouldn't function for more than a couple rounds in a row. That's right, many users had more than one malfunction for every magazine we fired using factory 9mm ammunition. If you're looking for a budget firearm, take a look at the KEL-TEC instead. It has a similar price and is a great firearm. KEL-TEC PF9. While trying to make an affordable 9mm pistol, KEL-TEC compromised the build quality in their PF9. Smaller dimensions in the KEL-TEC PF9 pistol make it harder to shoot for people with larger than average sized hands. A very common problem of the PF9 is its trigger. I've seen users complaining about breaking the trigger access pin, the trigger not resetting, the spring not having enough tension, or the hammer not striking. To summarize, PF9's trigger system has bad quality parts, making it break down or become faulty too often. The PF9 also is plagued with feeding and ejection problems. Sometimes, the extractor was too stiffly sprung and wouldn't snap over the rim of the case. Sometimes, it was too loose and wouldn't pull it free from the chamber after firing. And it's got a nasty recoil that doesn't really hurt until you notice that you're actually bleeding. Before you finish your third 7-shot magazine, you'll have 2 bleeding sores on the web of your thumb, where the grip bites you like a rattlesnake. This will put a quick stop to your PF9 shooting. And don't expect your friends to shoot it much either. Diamondback DB380. At its core, the DB9 is a polymer-framed subcompact 9mm handgun. Based on its size, it appears to be angling to be one of the easiest to conceal 9mm handguns. An extremely small handgun has both benefits and drawbacks. This Diamondback is no different. It is a compromise of competing interests. In the course of running, gun users may experience numerous failures to feed, failures to extract, and most disconcertingly, several random failures where the striker wouldn't reset. You would let the trigger out all the way, and then pull it again. and nothing would happen. A chambered check would show that the gun had cycled and chambered a fresh round. But for whatever reason, the striker would not reset. That being said, I cannot recommend the DB380 as a defensive firearm in any circumstances. This isn't the type of cheap gun that's going to get you hurt, but it's the type of cheap gun that's going to make you wish you saved up a little bit more for something better. Smith & Wesson CSX. Smith & Wesson has recently released a brand new handgun that is a departure from what they and most of the market have been playing with for the last couple of years with the CSX. There are two main gripes I have with the CSX: the trigger and slide bite issues. Let's talk about the trigger issue first. The trigger has what I would call a false reset, which inevitably led me to short stroking the trigger several times in the first 100 rounds. When you let go of the trigger to reset, there is a point where you feel a click. Normally, this would be where the trigger resets and is ready for another shot. But for some reason, that isn't the case with the CSX. It's something that I should be able to train through if I own the pistol, but it's worth noting. My hope is that they somehow remove this false reset feel in future iterations of the gun. The second possible downside is that the gun gave me some pretty bad slide bite in the first 100 rounds. While I can already hear the groans of the macho men telling me to be a man and get over it, the truth is, I feel like it would hinder my desire to train at length with the gun. By the end of the first 100 rounds, I felt like I had enough, and there was a small gash on the web of my hand to confirm that it was time to move on to another gun. The last possible stone I could see someone throwing at the CSX is that you need a tool for disassembly. Well, this certainly isn't the end of the world. It's worth pointing out for those who prefer to have a gun that doesn't need a tool for field stripping. Remington R51. When the Remington R51 was re-released, I was excited. An American company producing a pistol with a different action than the standard Browning locking action. It's a great concept, but there are serious design flaws that shouldn't be acceptable in a modern firearm. While the gun looks awesome, both the ease of use and range performance leave something to be desired. It almost feels like the gun is half finished, with just a couple of tweaks required to make it into a rocking awesome gun. The gun has a litany of reliability problems. It would fail to feed, fail to eject, and fail to extract. What's worse is that it would fire out of battery, meaning it would fire before the slide fully closed. In 2018, the gun was discontinued. We give Remington props for having the balls to bring this amazing mixture of novel action, retro looks, and solid feel to life. It's not a lifesaver, but the infamous Remington R51 is worth a couple of $100 for anyone wanting a gun that firearm history can't forget.